If I knew how that night would end, if I knew what I was going to see inside my rearview mirror, if I knew what part of me would never come back home, I'd never have taken that road. But when you're tired, angry, guilty, and pretending to be brave, you don't think straight. You just keep driving, and sometimes the road takes advantage of that. This happened in November of 2021, around 2:48 a.m., on a long stretch of highway between Flagstaff and Page, Arizona, one of the loneliest night drives I've ever taken. I've never told this story in full, because every time I start revisiting it, I hear the breathing again. And even while I'm writing this, I keep glancing at my rearview mirror. I was returning from a weekend trip with my girlfriend, Alyssa. We had a fight, one that felt stupid in the morning, but felt devastating at night. She cried, I drove off. No goodbyes, no explanations. Just ego, that's all it was. I didn't want to wait till sunrise. I grabbed my backpack, slammed the car door, and told myself I could drive 5 hours home in the middle of the night. Biggest mistake of my life. And before you ask why I didn't just turn around after the first weird thing, the truth is, I kept rationalizing everything. When you're emotionally wrecked, you don't process fear the same way. That's the real reason these stories happen. People are already mentally off balance. The first hour of the drive was normal. Cold silence, empty road. Music turned low. Then I noticed something strange. My rearview mirror was shaking, not vibrating, shaking. At first I assumed it was the road, so I slowed down. But the shaking didn't stop. It continued even at 30 miles per hour. I reached up to adjust it, and the moment my fingers touched it, it stopped. Completely still. No more shaking. Not even a little. I told myself I was imagining it. Sleep deprivation, emotional stress, whatever. But then I noticed something else. In the faint glow of my taillights reflecting off the asphalt, I saw something move, like a shadow crossing the road. But when I looked back properly, it was gone. I told myself it was an animal, a coyote maybe. But then, the mirror began tilting downward by itself. Not a lot, just a few centimeters, but enough that I could see less of the road behind me, and more of the back seat. Not tonight, I muttered, trying to adjust it again. The moment my hand touched it, it snapped violently back into place, as if someone pulled it from behind. My skin crawled, but I forced myself to keep driving. Around 3:26 a.m., a pickup truck appeared behind me, the first vehicle I'd seen in almost 2 hours. His headlights were unusually dim, foggy, yellowish like old halogen bulbs. It kept the same distance from me, about 50 feet, never closer, never farther. At first I was relieved. Finally, another human on this dead stretch of road. But when I slowed down to let it pass, it slowed down too. When I sped up, it sped up. It never drifted left, never made an attempt to overtake, just followed me. Exactly 50 feet, precisely, like it was using me as a guide. But then the weirdest part started. Every time I looked in the rearview mirror, I couldn't see the driver. Not because the truck was too far, not because of glare, but because the windshield looked pitch black, like it wasn't reflecting headlights at all. I leaned forward, squinting, and while focusing on the truck behind me, I saw something small move in my back seat. Just a shift, a shape realigning itself. I jerked the wheel, heart hammering. I wasn't alone in the car. At least that's what it felt like. My radio was off. I remember that clearly, but just as I was convincing myself the backseat thing was a product of loneliness and the creepy truck, the speakers made a faint static sound, like a whisper, then clearer.
Don't look.
I froze. The voice wasn't a station. It wasn't music. It wasn't even static. It was a whisper, like someone leaning against the back of my seat. speaking right into my ear. I turned the radio off completely. The whisper continued.
Don't look back.
I nearly braked out of fear. My tongue felt dry. My palms were sweating. Then the voice stopped. Dead silence. I swallowed and forced myself to breathe. Just drive, I whispered to myself. Just get home. But my heart wouldn't stop pounding because I didn't imagine that voice. I know I didn't. About 10 minutes later, the truck behind me blinked its headlights. Once, then again, a triple blink, like a signal. I didn't know whether it's supposed to stop or slow down or what it meant. The truck stayed exactly behind me, maintaining that eerie 50-foot distance. I blinked my own brake lights in response, just one tap. The truck instantly veered off the road and vanished. Not drove off, not slowed, not turned onto another road. It vanished. 1 second it was there, the next, gone. No skid marks, no dust trail, no movement to the side, just empty road. I hit my brakes hard and swerved to the shoulder, heart pounding like a drum. I looked in every direction, no truck, nowhere, either it turned off its lights, or it never existed in the first place. I began shaking uncontrollably, and that's when I heard breathing behind me. Not heavy breathing, not gasping, but slow, steady, controlled breathing, like someone trying to stay quiet. At first I thought it was inside my head, an imagined sound from stress. But then the breathing matched the fog forming on the rear window. There were small patches of condensation, like someone was exhaling close to the glass. My teeth began to chatter. My brain was screaming to turn around, but my instincts, the same instinct that keeps every prey animal alive, were telling me, do not look back. The whisper from the radio repeated in my head, don't look. But the more I avoided turning around, the stronger the urge became. Finally, I lowered my eyes and looked at the rearview mirror. What I saw wasn't a person. It was worse. There was a shape, not solid, not fully formed, sitting directly behind me. Its outline was faint, like a human body, but made of shadows. No face, no hair, just a silhouette. But here's the part that still keeps me awake at night. It was leaning forward, as if staring at the back of my head, and the moment my eyes met the mirror, the shape snapped its head upward, not slowly, not like a natural movement, but fast, too fast. Like a glitch in reality. I choked out a scream and swung the mirror away. When I looked again, the back seat was empty. No shadow, no figure, nothing. But the breathing continued. I panicked and floored the gas pedal. I needed civilization, lights, anything. But the next time I checked the time, it was 3:58 a.m. I swear only 5 minutes had passed. Not 30. Every direction looked the same. Black sky, black road, black desert. Suddenly, out of nowhere, there was a man standing in the middle of the road. Not waving, not moving, just standing, facing me. His clothes were dark, soaked, like he'd walked through water. His head was tilted slightly to the side. His arms hung limp. I slammed the brakes so hard I almost threw up. My tires screeched on the asphalt. My car skidded sideways. I stopped just a few feet before hitting him. My whole body shook. Ink, eto, nked. No reaction. I flashed my headlights. Still no reaction. He just stood there completely still, like he'd been waiting for me. And slowly, he raised one arm, not pointing at me, but pointing at my back seat. I looked directly at him through my windshield. He didn't blink, didn't breathe, didn't sway with the wind, just that same blank expression. And then his mouth opened, so wide that it shouldn't have been possible. No sound came out, just a silent scream stretching his jaw unnaturally downwards. And then he disappeared. not walked away, not vanished in the darkness, just blinked out of existence, like someone erased him from the world. My breath caught in my throat. My body was frozen. Everything felt unreal. I grabbed my steering wheel and whispered, "Wake up, wake up, wake up." But I wasn't dreaming. Unfortunately, the moment I shifted back into drive, something slammed the trunk of my car hard. The entire car shook. Then again, 3 rapid bangs, like fists pounding angrily. I floored it, screaming, speeding down the highway at 90 miles per hour. The banging continued, but it wasn't coming from behind anymore. It was coming from under the car, like something was clinging to the chassis. And then a distorted voice whispered from the speakers again, "He's not gone." I hit the dashboard. "Shut up, shut up." But the whisper repeated, "Look back." I yelled no. And then the rearview mirror turned toward me by itself. Slowly, smoothly, deliberate. I squeezed my eyes shut, shaking uncontrollably. I didn't want to see. I didn't. But curiosity is stronger than fear. Humans are stupid like that. I opened my eyes. There was a face in the mirror, not behind me. Inside the mirror, like it was pressed up against the glass from the other side. Eyes too wide, mouth too large, skin stretched unnaturally tight. It wasn't the man I saw on the road. This face was something older. "Duggar," it smiled. A slow, deliberate smile that made my stomach drop. And then in a voice not coming from the radio, not from outside, but from somewhere inside the mirror itself, it whispered, "You finally looked." I screamed and punched the mirror. It cracked. The face vanished instantly, but the breathing behind me returned. Louder, heavier, closer. I don't know how long I drove before I finally saw headlights ahead. A car coming toward me from the opposite direction. I honked, flashed my lights, waved like a madman. The other car slowed. It was an old Subaru. A man in his 60s rolled down his window and shouted, "You alright?" I tried forming words. There's something behind me inside my car." He frowned. "Son, you're alone." "No, I swear something's here." He leaned forward, squinting past me into the back seat. "There's nobody there." "Look again." He did. Slowly, longer at this time. His face suddenly went pale. His eyes widened. He whispered, "Get out of the car now." I froze. "Why?" He swallowed, terrified, "Because whatever is sitting behind you, it's smiling at me." I didn't question him. I threw the door open and stumbled out, collapsing on the dirt shoulder. He got out too, grabbing my arm.
"Don't look back,"
he warned.
"Don't look at the car."
We ran to his car. He floored it as we sped away. He refused to look in his rearview mirror. I asked, voice shaken, "What? Did you see?" He didn't answer at first. His hands trembled on the wheel. Finally, he whispered,
"I've driven this road 40 years.
I've seen things you wouldn't believe. But that thing behind you," he shuddered. "It wasn't human. When daylight broke, he dropped me at a gas station with people around. Only then did he dare speak fully. Creatures on this road, they don't stop cars. They follow people, weak people, angry people, people whose minds are cracked open from something emotional." He looked at me deeply.
You were vulnerable last night. It crawled in."
I didn't argue. I knew something had crawled in. When I later retrieved my car with a tow truck, the cracked rearview mirror was still tilted downward, pointing at the back seat, but the tow driver said something that made my blood run cold.
"Man, I've never seen a mirror crack on the inside of the glass before."
Inside. Not outside. Inside. I replaced the mirror. Didn't fix the problem. Every night since then, I hear the breathing again. And sometimes, when I look at the new mirror, it tilts down by itself, just a few centimeters, just enough to show the back seat, just enough to keep reminding me whatever sat behind me that night never really left. Some stories begin with a terrible choice. Mine began with a simple one, trying to take a shortcut at night. It happened in Wyoming on a freezing December night in 2020. I was driving back home after visiting my parents. I was tired, annoyed, and running late for work the next day. I opened Google Maps and saw a blue line rerouting me. Saved 37 minutes via Route 191, a road I'd never taken before. A road that cut through an almost empty stretch of national forest. I remember saying out loud, "Perfect. Let's get this over with." I should have listened to the silence instead, because silence always warns you first. I turned onto Route 191 at 11:42 p.m. That was the moment my night changed, because as soon as I merged onto that narrow 2-lane road, a single pair of headlights appeared behind me. Too close, too fast. The car behind me wasn't just tailgating. It was practically touching my bumper. Bright white LED headlights blinding, flooding my interior. I tapped my brakes lightly to send a message. The driver's response? They moved even closer, uncomfortably close. The road was straight for miles, snow on both sides, forest stretching endlessly beyond. I sped up to create distance. They matched my speed perfectly. I slowed down. They slowed down, never passing me, never backing off, just tailgating with obsessive precision. I finally checked my rearview mirror to see the driver, and my stomach dropped. There was no driver, or at least none I could see, just a full black void behind the windshield, like the glass was tinted from the inside, or something was blocking it entirely. But the headlights? They were too bright, too powerful, too perfect. No flicker, no shake, no uneven movement. Almost artificial. I blinked and looked again. Still no driver. I'm not the type to panic easily, but something about that car felt wrong on an instinctive level. Predatory. I spotted a small turnout ahead, a dirt shoulder where trucks sometimes stopped. I used my signal and pulled over slowly. The car behind me slowed too, but instead of passing, it stopped right behind me, not beside me, not driving away. It parked in the exact same position behind me, 10 feet away, engine rumbling, headlights burning into my mirrors. I waited. 30 seconds? 1 minute? 2 minutes? They didn't move. They didn't roll down a window. Didn't attempt to communicate. Didn't even turn the engine off. Just idled behind me with those unnatural headlights. I finally swallowed my fear and stepped on the gas again. The moment I pulled back onto the road, they followed. Perfect timing, perfect distance, like they were reading my mind. I checked my phone. No signal, no emergency calls, no maps updates. Outside, the forest thickened, trees packed tighter, their shadows longer. The sky vanished behind cloud cover. The road grew darker and narrower, the white lane paint barely visible. And that car behind me, still tailgating, still unnaturally precise. At one point, I jerked my wheels slightly to avoid a pothole. The car behind me jerked at the exact same time, like a mirror, like it was synced to my movements. I muttered, "What the hell are you?" Not what. Because by this point, I wasn't sure there was a who anymore. I leaned forward, trying to catch a glimpse of the driver one more time. I expected darkness, but for a split second, I saw something worse. A smile, not a human smile. Too wide, too sharp, too high on the face where the nose should be. And then it vanished again, swallowed by the black windshield. My whole body locked up. I jerked the wheel involuntarily, and the car behind me copied the movement perfectly, almost like it anticipated what I was gonna do a split second before I did it. I sped up. It sped faster. 80 mph. 90 mph. Its headlights stayed exactly the same distance. No fishtailling. No struggle. No sound of engine strain, just pure silent acceleration. At this point, I was no longer thinking logically. My hands were shaking. My mouth was dry. I whispered, "Please, please go away." The road seemed to absorb the words. Suddenly, a deer ran across the road. A big one. I slammed the brakes. My car skidded sideways. The deer leaped out of the way. I threw my hands over my face, expecting an impact from behind, but it never came. I opened my eyes. The car behind me had stopped too, but perfectly. No skid marks, no slide, as if its tires never lost traction. I stared in horror as it began rolling forward again, smoothly, silently. That was when I realized something. Its engine wasn't making any sound. Only my own heartbeat filled the air. The road ahead was supposed to be straight for 16 more miles, but a few minutes later, I saw a stop sign glowing red in my headlights. In the middle of nowhere, no intersection, no crossing road, no reason for it to exist, just a random stop sign planted on a deserted stretch of highway. I slowed down, not because I wanted to, but because something compelled me to, like an invisible pressure on my chest urging, "Stop here." Behind me, the car also slowed. Perfect synchronization. I came to a full stop. The mysterious car came to a stop behind me, exactly 10 feet away. Headlights blinding, silent engine, pitch black windshield. Snowflakes drifted through the beams. I stared at the stop sign, trembling, muttering, "This wasn't here before. This wasn't here." And then something knocked on my passenger window. 3 times. Tap, tap, tap. My scream never made it out. I slowly turned my head. A man stood outside my passenger door. Tall, thin, hunched slightly forward like he'd been standing too long. His face was completely shadowed by the angle of my headlights. He didn't move, didn't speak, just knocked again. Tap, tap, tap. This time slower. I reached toward the lock button, but froze because he wasn't looking at me. He was looking past me, toward the rearview mirror. His eyes widened, and his lips parted like he saw something horrifying. He stepped back slowly, never breaking eye contact with whatever was behind me. Then he whispered one word, "Run." I floored the gas pedal. The stop sign blurred past. The man vanished behind darkness. The car behind me roared to life, but this time it wasn't silent. It let out a scream. A metallic shriek that sounded like tearing metal and human agony combined. I don't know how else to describe it except it sounded angry. I hit 95 mph. The car behind me hit 95 mph. 100 mph. 100 mph. 110 mph. 110 mph. The trees whipped past violently. The road felt too narrow, too slick. I tried swerving a bit. The mysterious car swerved at the exact same moment. Same angle, same time, and that like a possessed reflection. My headlights flickered. My engine rattled. My stack of CDs fell off the dashboard. But the car behind me? Smooth, effortless, perfectly aligned with my movements. That's when I realized it wasn't chasing me, that it was mirroring me, copying me, learning me. Every move, every panic, every instinct, it was becoming me. Up ahead, the road dipped into an old single-lane tunnel carved into the hill. I remembered passing it once as a kid in daylight, my father called it. Dead Man's Tunnel. As if my fear needed fuel, I hesitated. The car behind me didn't. It pushed closer. Its headlights burned hotter. Its shrieking engine noise grew louder and distorted. I had no choice. I drove into the tunnel. Instant. Darkness swallowed my car. My headlights flickered against dripping stone walls, the sound of tires echoing through an endless cave. The car behind me entered too, the entire tunnel filled with the maddening reflection of its headlights. It felt like being trapped with a predator. I checked my rearview mirror one last time. For a split second, I saw myself, not my current self, but a pale, dead-eyed version of me sitting in the driver's seat of the car behind me. Same clothes, same hair, same face, but lifeless. Cold, a corpse, and then it smiles. The tunnel had a sharp bend halfway through, almost a hairpin turn. I slammed the brakes, drifting through the curve, tires slipping on wet stone. The car behind me couldn't mirror this perfectly. It swerved too late. Its right wheels hit the wall, and it rolled violently. Metal screamed, glass shattered, headlights burst. The monstrous vehicle flipped sideways, slammed into the tunnel wall, and tumbled behind me in a shower of sparks. I didn't stop. I didn't breathe. I just kept driving. As soon as I exited the tunnel, the sky felt lighter. Snow gleamed faintly. Air didn't feel suffocating anymore. I drove until I reached a small gas station at the edge of a tiny town. I parked, threw myself out of the car, collapsed on the pavement, shivering uncontrollably. The cashier ran out. "Sir, are you okay?" "What happened?" I looked behind me. The road was empty, pitch black, silent. No car, no headlights, no sound. It never came out of that tunnel. The next day I got my car inspected, and the mechanic looked at me strangely when he opened my trunk. Who was riding back here?" "No one." He frowned. "You sure?" "There are handprints on the inside of your trunk lid. Small ones, like someone tried to claw their way out." My blood ran cold. I whispered, "There was no one there." He shrugged. "You tell me, man." But whatever was back there, it wanted out. 2 weeks later, I checked the news. A landslide had occurred on Route 191. Dead Man's Tunnel collapsed completely. The road is permanently closed now. I told myself that car is buried in there forever. But sometimes, when I drive at night, I see a pair of blinding white headlights far behind me. Too bright, too steady, too synchronized with my movements. And I pray it never catches up. You've already stepped too far into the dark. Subscribe, and let the shadows whisper their next truth directly into your ear.